Somebody has to save our skins.
Wonderful girl! I'm gonna kill her or I'm beginning to like her!
With a little over 1 week left before we get to see the magnificence that is going to be the rise of Skywalker, more and more leaks continue to be brought forth by none other than Reddit user Jedi Paxis. So he has leaked some last-minute details, and I'm just going to let you know what they are. A source had recently contacted him, and they claim to have already seen the film. Now, they only saw the film once, so there is a possibility that some of these leaks are not a perfect retelling of what they actually saw. I am going to be reading paragraph by paragraph from the Reddit leak, so here we go. He says that in the film, we begin with Kylo's slaughter of natives in the red-lit woods to get Vader's Wayfinder. The Wayfinder is a pyramid-shaped object, and it hooks up to Kylo's TIE fighter and allows him to get where he needs to go, this destination being Exegol. Kylo flies through a red nebula-like section of space to get to Exegol, and this has been seen in the recent TV spots with Resistance ships later in the movie. Once on Exegol, Kylo apparently wanders into what looks like a science lab, and Palpatine's voice can be heard, claiming that he made Snoke, and he has been orchestrating everything from the shadows. This is ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Okay. With regards to Palpatine's initial appearance, flashes of lightning reveal Palpatine's face, but with white eyes attached by his back to some vertical metal arm, leading to something that we don't see. Okay. Moving on. Palpatine apparently discusses creating a large armada at this point in the film and orders Kylo to locate Rey. Kylo thinks that this means that Palpatine wants him to kill her, but Palpatine warns him that she is not who you think she is. Then the film cuts to an ice asteroid base sequence. An ice asteroid. An ice asteroid. When we first snap to Poe, Finn, and Chewie on the Falcon, they are all playing holo chess. 2-on-1. They insinuate that Chewie cheated, and he gets a bit pissed. I wonder if he's going to rip someone's arms off. Probably not. But Poe makes a comment about how it's obvious that he's better at them because he's so much older. When Chewie goes to check on something, they lie to him that they won't turn off the game just because they're losing, and then they proceed to turn off the game. What an amazing example that they're setting for their target audience. Children. The informant scene has the Falcon hovering while the contact tosses them a satchel with all of the background information. Poe and Finn pry the contact to get the mole's name, but he won't budge. So Rey is training on the jungle base, but the source does not recall any training to communicate with past Jedi. Just that Rey gets very frustrated and a bit too careless with her lightsaber, and she causes a tree to fall and damage BB-8. Rey, Finn, and Poe reconnect when the Falcon lands at the jungle base. We see members of the Resistance running to put out a fire, and we see that it's coming from the Falcon. This damage incurred as a result of light speed skipping. This makes Rey very upset with Poe because, you know, it's her ship now. It's her ship, not Chewie's. It's Rey's ship. So, the combined forces of Palpatine and the First Order are apparently now called the Final Order. Luke was apparently searching for Exegol, but was unable to obtain a Wayfinder to get there. So, now we find out that Luke did know that Palpatine was still out there and creating the Final Order, but the only person that he told was Lando, because I believe in the last leaks, Lando knows that Luke was on this mission, but he didn't tell anybody else. Nobody else knew that Palpatine was still alive. Okay. The source says that Rose is little more than a background character. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. She has some lines throughout, but nothing significant, largely motivational, let's get him style lines. Following the meeting where Kylo discusses the First Order spy to a room of officers, he immediately says Hux's name, but seemingly changes the subject. So does Kylo know that Hux is the spy or the mole? This person also believes that this meeting is the first time we see General Pride. During the movie, he mentions serving Palpatine during the days of the Empire. Okay, so General Pride is apparently an OG. He was there during the Empire. During Kylo and Rey's force bond on Pisana, as soon as she snaps out of it, Rey draws the attention of some stormtroopers who immediately recognize them but are swiftly handled by locals, while the hero team is whisked away by who would eventually be revealed as Lando. During the Pisana speeder chase, when the last trooper is dispatched, he hits the speeder the heroes are on, flinging everyone into quicksand. During this, Finn shouts to Rey, thinking they're going to die, and that he has something to tell her. But they all get sucked down too quickly. When the team is sucked beneath the sand, Poe asks Finn and Rey if they're okay, to which 3PO apparently comments, I didn't hear you mention my name, sir, but I'm also fine. That's a very 3PO line. I kind of like that. Down in the tunnels, Poe asks what Finn was going to say to Rey in front of everyone, but Finn brushes it off, saying they can talk about it later. I wonder if they're going to go back to that little romance, or maybe it's just like a brother or sister type thing, like, thank you for taking me on this adventure with you. Poe apparently accuses Finn, saying something like, what, like when I'm not around? Just you and Rey? So is Poe jealous? But the source says that they don't recall them ever picking that thread back up. So while looking for an exit, they encounter a sandworm that's been previously mentioned. This source says that it looks more like a viper. They go on to say that there is no battle. It's just Rey sneaking up on it, noticing a wound, and then she uses her life force to heal it. It slithers away, revealing its way out. D.O. is found on Ochi's ship and is evidently extremely timid. Apparently, he belonged to Ochi and was abused pretty bad. So now are they treating these droids as pets? Because I remember in The Force Awakens, when BB-8 is returned back to Poe, he kind of pets it like you would a dog with his hands. And now we have D.O. who's timid because he was abused. Why are they giving droids personality? R2-D2 was very interesting, but he still followed programming. C-3PO was spoken to very disrespectfully by a lot of people because, C-3PO is kind of annoying in the OT, but he never gets, timid. He's still around helping. I don't understand why a droid would be timid because he was abused. Moving on. He only speaks when spoken to and tends to shy away from people. BB-8 finds him and reboots him. They say that Chewbacca's capture happens a little differently than previously described. He just wanders off to get Rey, and then 2 troopers happen upon him. They may have been the Knights of Ren. After a little while, Finn goes to locate Chewie and sees him in cuffs boarding a transport, and so he runs and reports this to Poe. So during that really cool flip that we see Rey doing in the very first trailer, Rey slices off Kylo's wing and he crashes. Apparently, we find out later in the film that Kylo pushes the transport that Rey thinks Chewie is on away in order to push Rey's limits. Sounds like he's trying to test her and see how powerful she is. Zori's entrance is apparently extremely hostile, as she threatens Poe repeatedly, mentioning that the price the First Order has on his head would recoup the losses he incurred on her. During the hack sequence, 3PO apparently takes shots at R2 when they mention that his memory wipe could be restored by him. 3PO has zero confidence in R2's memory banks. Well, that's upsetting. And R2 has really good memory banks. We saw him pull, 30, 40-year-old footage of Princess Leia during the Last Jedi movie. After 3PO's memory is wiped, he blurts out in a deep voice the translation of the Sith dagger, and then he reboots. He does his standard greeting and asks who everyone is, to which Babu Freak is the only one who responds. Later, when Babu reappears, 3PO claims, I know Babu Freak, he's one of my oldest friends, because his memory was not yet restored. Zori and Poe reminisce, and she tells him about the medallion, and she tries to get him to leave with her, leaving everything behind. She gives it to him later, once the area is being assaulted by First Order troops. When Rey grabs the dagger in Kylo's quarters on his Star Destroyer, she sees Ochi attacking her parents. They apparently left her on Jakku, ran, and are later killed in what appears to be a city setting, not on Jakku, according to this person. They're apparently killed because they won't reveal where Rey is. It's not revealed until the end of the film that Ochi was not sent to kill, but to retrieve Rey, probably for Palpatine, because, he's still alive. After Hux rescues the heroes on the Star Destroyer, he tells Poe to shoot him in the arm, but Poe shoots him in the leg instead. When asked why he's helping them, Hux replies that he doesn't care if the First Order wins, he just wants Kylo to lose. Hux is killed by General Pride when he reports the incident, as it's way too obvious what actually happened. I still don't understand why Hux is the mole. He's such a huge First Order supporter, and I really thought that he believed in more than just one person. I thought he believed in a cause, so I just don't get Hux as the mole. With regards to the location of the Death Star wreckage, it's called out as Endor, not the Forest Moon, though it still seems a bit debatable. We see Ewoks looking skyward during the planetary celebration, but not during the Endor sequence. So it looks like we're going to get some Ewoks in this movie. On Endor, Janna and her cohorts explain that they were First Order mutineer troopers who mutinied during a battle, refusing to fire on civilians, and managed to escape on the ship that they were in. So this is kind of like Finn in the first movie. He refused to fire upon civilians. I wonder if him and Jannah are going to have some stuff to talk about. Rey isn't provided the water skiff she uses to reach the Death Star wreckage. She just takes it and they find her attempting to sail it to the wreck. They were told to wait until dark when the tides die down, but Rey doesn't want to wait. She's very impatient. She's in too much of a hurry. The source claims that Rey actually interacts with the dark vision of herself on the Death Star after touching the Wayfinder. Dark Rey uses her folding lightsaber to trap Rey's real lightsaber blade, easily gaining the upper hand and driving home the point of how much more powerful she could be if she submitted to darkness. After this, she snaps back to reality. Rey is already really powerful, so I guess she'd be like the super powerful Rey if she went to the dark side, but we know that that's not going to happen. This person is under the impression that it may be Leia who snaps Rey out of her dark vision. They claim that right after the moment we skip to her weakened, being let out of the command room back at the base, and someone comments that it would take everything she has left to reach her son. During Kylo and Rey's duel on the Death Star wreckage, Rey is angrily fighting Kylo. We see her even force push Finn and Jannah out of the zone. This person says that Leia's final word is Ben. See, this is perfect. That's her final word, is she's thinking about her son, which catches Kylo's attention and is what distracts him long enough for Rey to stab him through the abdomen, so then Rey subsequently heals him. Okay, so she killed him and then brings him back to life. That's so Rey. After Kylo is stabbed, Han shows up out of nowhere. He's not a Force ghost. It's as if he's standing there alive again. He gives Kylo some words of encouragement, and then their conversation very closely mirrors the Han death scene in The Force Awakens, including the "I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it" line. He even holds the lightsaber in the same spot, but he turns and throws it into the watery wreckage of the Death Star. So Rey flies to Ahch-To on a TIE fighter, and then she throws her lightsaber, and Luke catches the lightsaber and says something about how something like this shouldn't just be discarded. Well, that's funny considering he just discarded his own lightsaber. Some of the young Luke and Leia scenes previously described in some leaks are still intact during the Ahch-To scenes. Style-wise, it's almost like a droid projection. The content is that Leia's last training session and she's sparring with Luke, but he mentions she stops and quits being a Jedi because she had a vision of her son's fall to the dark side and his death. And he also confirms that both he and Leia knew that Rey was a Palpatine, yet chose to train her anyways. Well, Luke reluctantly trained Rey, and then he stopped training her abruptly. I guess Leia's now training her in this movie. I don't know, we'll see. But if they knew that she was a Palpatine, I think it's ridiculous how after Han's death, Leia just walks by Chewie and hugs Rey, a Palpatine. If she knows that Rey's a Palpatine, why would she bypass Chewie and hug her? That makes absolutely no sense. And then in The Last Jedi, Luke's like, "Who are you?" This doesn't make any sense. When Rey leaves Ahch-To, she actually does transmit the path to Exegol to the Resistance. There's initial confusion as they're receiving the transmission from Red 5, but she leaves in Luke's old X-Wing. So she probably uses her Force powers to bring Luke's X-Wing out of the water, because in The Last Jedi, we saw that his X-Wing was underneath the water. The Resistance doesn't have sufficient data to actually get there, but apparently Finn discovers that D.O. knows the way. Lando leaves on the Falcon to get more forces. The rest of the Resistance mobilizes with their newfound data and heads after Rey. And we also see some Porgs on Ahch-To. Yay, Porgs are back, even after JJ said that they wouldn't be back in his movie. Right after his memory restoration, 3PO exclaims excitedly that he's about to go on a mission, but R2 tells him it already happened, to 3PO's confusion. Well, this makes me happy. 3PO is going to get his memory back. I'm very relieved that they're going to give him back his memory, because wiping out his memory is like killing him, and I was really upset that they were going after the droids. When Rey gets to Exegol, she wanders in, meeting zero resistance, and happens upon the Sith throne. Palpatine emerges on the mechanical arm from the side of it, revealing everything to her, including that the assassin was meant to retrieve her, never to kill her. They get surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands, of Palpatine's acolytes. While Palpatine is goading Rey into killing him, he points out the fleet, claiming she could become Empress Palpatine. Give me a break. Kylo, now Ben Solo, enters Exegol and gets his ass handed to him by the Knights of Ren. Of course he does. We've seen his ass get handed to him in the past 2 movies, so why not by his own Knights of Ren? Until about to strike Palpatine, Rey initiates a bond and gives him Leia's lightsaber. I'm actually not that mad at this. I like that Kylo is using Leia's lightsaber. That's the story that we needed. Kylo's story. That's the Skywalker story, not this Rey person. Palpatine apparently speaks about the bond they share and how extremely powerful and rare it is for it to occur. He then sucks their life to restore his, and we see his white eyes turn yellow-orange, Sith style. In the skies, General Pride does have the tower turned off, but there's no mention of it being bounced around, impossible to stop. The Resistance just heads to land on the flagships instead. This person was very disappointed by the Sith trooper, stating that they were no better than the average stormtrooper from the original trilogy. Of course they're not any better. They're just stormtroopers with red-colored armor. That's it. That being said, there's many more of them, so the landing party is getting slowly overrun while the battle in the sky occurs. The members of the Resistance that are in ships are also having a difficult time due to being outnumbered by the Sith fleet. Poe apparently begins to apologize for something when Lando answers him, basically announcing his arrival. So it's kind of like, Han showing up in A New Hope, but this time it's Lando. We see an absolutely massive amount of ships directly above the fleet approaching quickly. Filled with a new resolve, Finn and Janna make a suicide attempt at opening a hatch to toss grenades into, destroying the signal transmitter, and they succeed. Palpatine sees the arrival of reinforcements and begins to laugh. He then lightning storms a good chunk of the fleet out of the sky. Even Poe's X-Wing is shut off for a good bit. And then there's a note, and he says that here's what I think people are going to end up discussing the most about this post. Apparently, Palpatine does in fact force push Ben into the ravine, claiming he is the last of the Skywalker line. And then Rey hears voices such as Yoda, Luke, Leia, Mace, Windu, and others who give her the strength to stand up. Palpatine tries to lightning her, but she blocks it with one of her sabers and immediately stalemates them. Then she finds the strength to pull the other saber to her, making an X formation, and this allows her to deflect the lightning back towards Palpatine. Palpatine apparently disintegrates and explodes, causing the arena to crumble, but also killing Rey. Ben apparently climbs out of the pit, finding a dead Rey, and decides to give his life for hers. He uses the healing trick to save Rey, but drains his life force in the process. And then there's a weird fanfic moment where they kiss and he dies. Why are they killing off Kylo Ren? It's supposed to be the rise of Skywalker. Lando goes back for Janna and Finn, who are on a Star Destroyer, which is falling out of the air. Babu Frik is also seen in Zori's ship. Poe's skill in piloting is matched by Zori throughout the fight. Of course it is. We can't have a man being the best fighter in the Resistance. We also have to have a woman. During the post-victory celebration, everyone is catching up with each other, kissing and celebrating. This leads to us seeing Chewie, who hears Maz call to him. You think that she's going to ask for a kiss, but she says, "You deserve this," and hands him a large medal. It's Luke's medal. Han traded Luke's medal for a drink, and I guess it's Luke's medal that she is now giving to Chewie. After seeing everyone kissing, Poe apparently gives Zori a side nod, insinuating that they should head elsewhere for a bit, to which she shakes her helmet no. So the ending is also different. Now we find out that Rey didn't disassemble Luke and Leia's lightsabers. She came to the moisture farm to bury them. She now has a black and gray handled lightsaber, which she ignites to show a yellow blade. So she's constructed herself a new lightsaber. She and Bibi are the only ones present until a woman appears asking her name, to which she says Rey. Rey who? Then, seeing Luke and Leia's ghost in the distance, replies Rey Skywalker, as she clearly sees them as the parents she was never able to have. Rey and BB-8 look off at the setting twin suns and the movie ends. I honestly do not like that she took the name of Skywalker, and I don't like that this story, the end of the Skywalker saga, ends with a character that is not a Skywalker. She just stole everything from the Skywalkers. In a sense, Rey is a thief. I'm sorry, but she is. She's a thief. She stole the Millennium Falcon, and then she apparently downloaded Kylo's training, so she stole all of his Jedi training, and then she goes to Ahch-To. Then she's apparently handed a lightsaber by Maz, gives it back to Luke, and then Luke tosses it aside, and so she takes it. She steals it from Luke because she thinks that he doesn't want it anymore, so now it's hers. And now she's stealing the last name of Skywalker. And what do we expect? She steals for a living. She's a scavenger. Yeah, she's basically, throughout this whole trilogy, scavenging different abilities that would be of use to her. And I do not like that this is the new hero of the new Disney Star Wars. We really should have gotten more when it comes to Kylo Ren. It really should have been his story. It should have been his redemption. It should have been him that rises at the end, not Rey. I don't think that this movie sounds very good. So that's it. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and feel free to share it around if you like. Also, I hope you'll consider subscribing, and let me know what type of videos you'd like to see in the future in the comments down below. I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone!